Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today in Comic Book Studios here in very hot, sweaty downtown Nashville is Mr. Connor Casey.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Kofi the Outlaw?
I have an actual Sith name, but we won't get to that. It's kind of like demonic stuff, I think. Like, if you know my name, you can, like, have power over me. Anyway,
okay.
Let's get to our remote guest today. On the other side of Nashville, or close by, in her own luxurious home studio, we have Janelle Wheeler.
Hello, in the hottest room of the house. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jay. And I don't know where it is, how it is, where you are. You're so far away from me now. Mr. Matthew Aguilar is joining us from his immaculate, geek-tastic home studio in... Where are you? Where are you right now, buddy?
Indiana.
Okay, I didn't know. Indiana, all right, yeah, after the big move. So, if you are watching us live, you may notice my new wardrobe for the day. I'm all hooded and Jedi'd out today because, of course, this is the week where we are talking Star Wars Ahsoka. If you guys haven't already checked it out and subscribed to Comic Book Nation on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platforms, do so because we already dropped our instant reactions to Ahsoka. I mean, we popped up the next morning after Tuesday night and we got one version out. But, we didn't have everybody. We couldn't get everybody in. Janelle was busy, living a real life and doing things. And we didn't get her take, so today we're going to give you some spoiler-free just impressions about Ahsoka and about how that show has kind of landed in the discourse in the days since. We're going to get into it. It's probably going to get heated. I warn you right up front. Also in today's show, just to give you the quick rundown, we have to talk about the Warner Brothers delays and what may be happening with films and TV because of the strikes and what looks like we may be getting back to. Plus, we are going to give you a follow-up to our best summer movie picks, which seemed to be a popular episode we did, as you can see behind us here. Our best summer TV memories and picks this year. We're each going to go through that. We have some big things happening in comics as well, but all of that aside, up front, we're going to have to start on a little bit more of a somber note than we usually do with this show. Because Connor, Matt, and our entire wrestling team, the wrestling fandom, and the wrestling world got some pretty shocking, upsetting news late last night. Connor, that's enough preamble. I'll take off my hood and stop playing around for this. Take it away.
Sure. So, last night, Paul Levesque confirmed Bray Wyatt, real name Wyndham Rotunda, age 36, passed away. It was later reported this was due to a heart attack. Wyndham leaves behind a fiance, JoJo Offerman, and 4 young children. He was beloved within the wrestling industry. We've seen it all throughout social media over the past 12 hours or so. Nothing but an outpouring of love and mourning for a guy with an incredibly creative mind. One of the most creative minds I think we've ever seen in this industry. As a person, he will be dearly missed. As a wrestler, he will be known for some of the most creative and well thought out characters. Personally, I always believed that he still had not hit his stride. Despite being a 3-time former world champion, the ideas he had brought to the table in some ways were a cautionary tale. He hadn't just grabbed the brass ring, he utterly dominated it. He brought in entirely new worlds, new ideas, and when those ideas were in the hands of other people, they weren't always necessarily used to their full capacity. I still fully believe that had he had the chance, we could have seen something even better. And he will be dearly missed. And we here at Comic Book offer his family nothing but our sincerest condolences. And if you're listening to this, there is actually a way you can help his family. WWE did something really cool. They announced all merchandise proceeds related to Wyatt will be going directly to his family. That is usually only a small percentage of what the wrestlers receive. 100% of all proceeds made from his merchandise going forward will go directly to support his family. And that's that's pretty cool. So if you have the chance, help if you can.
It'd be a cool way to kind of memorialize him and help his family at the same time. Like, so, yeah, I mean, they made it easy. So to all our wrestling fans, you know, if you want to just, you know, reach out, we've been getting a lot of response. I'm sure you guys on the wrestling team have. It's a very sad thing. And like I said, we don't usually like to start on this kind of somber note. We are kind of a geek culture show. We do all things geek culture, and this is unfortunately part of that culture today. So now it's my job to transition us out of that, and let's do a little cartwheel over to an equally happily subject, us feeling like we're going back to the year 2020 in general. Wow, what a transition. Janelle, this one's yours though, so take it away.
I will take any transition. It is so hard to come off of that. So just sending so much love to all the fans out there. We do have some more delays in the works, guys. This is not something we're surprised by at this point. I feel like we all kind of know that all of the strikes within Hollywood are going to lead to many, many delays. As far as updates on those delays, Dune Part 2 actually is getting delayed off of November 3rd. It is going all the way into next year, March 14th, 2024. I'm pretty sure that this was ready to go, but I am pretty sure that they need these actors to do press, and that's probably why they're holding off. I mean, Zendaya on a red carpet.
Yeah.
You need it. I need it. So that one, I'm actually super bummed about this one. I was really looking forward to seeing her character actually like talk. But yeah, moving forward, we also have Godzilla vs. Kong sequel. It's delayed only a month as of right now. So it was in March. Now it's April 12th. So that's not too heartbreaking.
No, it's basically you got to make room for Dune after that, because Dune.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote that one up, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for Godzilla versus Kong. I mean, it's impressive when you go back with the first film made when it had that simultaneous release on HBO Max, and it came out in March and made good money, like worldwide, about $400 million. So I think that, you know, April can be very dead, because it's like this weird, we get this little burst of stuff in March from people trying to get like spring blockbusters out, but then it gets kind of dead in April before people release a bunch of stuff in May.
Yeah.
So then it's just like, that might be a good place for it.
I blame Marvel for that. Like, they kind of took over March like about 5 years ago.
Yeah. February, March.
And suddenly we all just went, summer starts in March now, folks.
Yeah. But then we run out of steam, and everybody else was like, I got nothing for April. And we just get weird movies, and then like, yeah. So it might work out I think it'll work out for Godzilla and Kong. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Godzilla and Kong. We actually have another one too, and I'm gonna need your help on this, guys. Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim.
Rohirrim.
Am I saying that?
Nailed it.
I said it right.
Nailed it.
Oh, I'm so proud of myself. I always think I read things wrong in my brain. Like when I'm reading something, it's fine, but when I have to actually say it out loud, I'm like, it's okay if I'm saying it wrong in my own head. But that is delayed to December 13th, 2024. It was supposed to come out in April 12th. So that's a huge delay, in my opinion. And I don't know if this is something we were super looking forward to. Like, how do you guys feel about this project in general? Was this something you were like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this? Or is it kind of like, it's okay that it got pushed?
I was actually looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But most so because I wasn't as taken with the Lord of the Rings.
Same.
With Amazon's Lord of the Rings. And so I
Yeah.
was kind of looking forward. Like, this is animation. I'm an animation person. So, like, I'm very much like, oh, yeah, give me something like that. Maybe kind of get me sucked back into the world. But, you know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't, you know me, I'm not into animation, so I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. I wonder what is on the slate.
We need to
what
move
it's going to
on.
be competing with.
This is a bad start.
No.
We do not need to start this on this particular day.
Not to knock it, just Lord of the Rings has been on a really rough stretch across the board. Honestly, since the last of the Hobbit movies, whether you talk about Battle of the Five Armies, whatever the hell they were trying to do with that, let's just call it underwhelming Amazon series that a lot of money went into, but not a lot of good came out of. The Gollum game that just dropped that nobody wants to talk about. The second Shadow of Mordor game. And
Shadow Mordor rules.
the first one does. The second one, not as much love. And then, honestly, and Kof, I know I'm with you. Animation, completely legitimate.
Domination.
Does not deserve to be get the hate that it does. However, Lord of the Rings animated properties. Go look up the Ralph Bakshi movies if you need to see just how raked over the coals this thing has been.
But that's,
Whoa, yo, slow down,
That's like
pause.
the
Now we're getting into my
Zelda.
childhood. You need to pause, slow up.
This is awesome.
This is my childhood today. This is the grenade today? Really?
If you need to,
if you guys are just getting this podcast, there's always a grenade. We never know.
Watch the Folding
we gotta
Ideas
change the name
YouTube
of this
channel
thing to
video
landmine. We
on
gotta
the
change it
Ralph
to
Bakshi.
landmine.
It's
Because it's not a grenade. It's always a landmine. We don't see it until we stepped on it, and it's like some bouncing Betty or like VS. Oh, man. No, the Bakshi stuff is maybe the best that stuff has ever looked outside of Peter Jackson. Like, yeah.
Okay,
the Bakshi Hobbit.
hell of a
is what
disclaimer.
got me
Outside
into Lord
of
of the
Peter
Rings.
Jackson. Outside of the best trilogy ever. Okay.
No, I mean, but I'm just, my whole point, and I haven't really said anything about this yet, but my whole point is, I think it might be a time to accept that not everything can be like franchised to death. Like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, you may just be able to tell a trilogy about Lord of the Rings and a story about The Hobbit. A single story about The Hobbit.
Should have just been 2 movies with Del Toro.
2 movies.
Should have been 1 movie.
Just 1 movie. 1 3-hour movie is enough for The Hobbit. Like, just make it long, okay? And like, we'll all deal. But like, yeah, or just like a whole limited series, like 6 episodes about The Hobbit. Like, we're good. Like, that's all you may be able to do with this, okay? Like, I don't know if you can really take me back to the formation of, like, the first Sauron angels and the rest of that whole...
Oh, the first stage plays out like Fantasia. You can't make that a movie.
No, and so, like, you know, like... I think at the end of this madness that started with, like, you know, the end of the 2000s and 2010s, we might just realize you can't franchise IP, a universe, everything. Like, yes, Lord of the Rings has... I can't even think of any... I can't think of a single thing since Peter Jackson's actual Lord of the Rings movie that has been like, yes, this franchise. It just doesn't really exist for me. And I'm not knocking, like, it's mostly just kept alive. I'd rather go LARP with the people who LARP and do Lord of the Rings LARP than get into any of this other madness. Like, that sounds more fun.
I think
we
it's...
make that.
Hey, anybody in the Lord of the Rings LARP community, hit us up. ComicBook Nation. We'll do like a whole thing. We'll tell Jim Viscardi we'll do like a TikTok reel of it, and
two quick observations. It's funny how D&D, which stole basically everything from Tolkien, is actually much stronger as a franchise right now. The movie was great. Everyone loves Baldur's Gate 3, and people still love version 5. Second thing, and getting back to the topic at hand, this is feeling a lot like 2020.
Yeah.
This is, I started showing up on this show with any sense of regularity in 2020, and a lot of those episodes were dominated by, and now this is getting pushed back, and this is getting pushed back, and this is getting pushed back. And then we go, gee, I hope this date stays, and then 6 weeks later we'd be talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's all coming full circle.
This is feeling familiar.
That's what I said. I looked back. I was just talking to Matt. I was like, man, I looked back at some of those like season 2 episodes of the pandemic hit. I was like, wow, that was really rough. Looking back at those episodes, and like, yeah, I was like, man, are we really going back here? But apparently so. So, pay the writers, pay your actors. Don't make me do stuff when I'm dead unless you pay my family. But you know, that's what they're saying out there. This is not the personal opinion
some writers for
of
that
anybody on Comic Book Nation. Let's get out of here before we get into any more quagmires on this subject.
Giggity.
Okay, then I'll move us
one.
into... I can move us into the MCU news.
Are you flexing?
MCU,
what are you flexing over there? Like,
I'm excited. I'm very excited about this. As of right now, I'm scared to get excited, but the MCU's, the Marvels, continues to keep its November 10th, 2023 date.
Please.
I'm so relieved about this. I'm very, very happy about it, but I am also so nervous because you know things can change.
Yeah.
Like, this is great because Dune was kind of in competition with the Marvels, and because Dune had precedence, Dune was going to be seen in IMAX. And now with Dune being moved, the Marvels can be seen in IMAX. Hopefully they will go ahead and pull the trigger on that. But things can always change. They can decide, oh, we're going to move this date, we're going to shake it up because we can't get our film's cast to promote it because of the strikes. So I am a little nervous about this, but I'm timidly happy about this not changing. And please, for the love of God, please, I want to see this for Thanksgiving. Please don't change it on me. Keep it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm right there. Fingers crossed with you. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. This is another one of those that I feel like you need the cast.
Yeah, that chemistry is like kind of crucial. Those, I think I'm not saying I agree. Kind of in the middle of both of you. I agree with, because Nia DaCosta can go out and sell this. Kevin Feige can go out and sell this. They're already figuring out ways to kind of get around this. There are people who are authorized to still do stuff. At the same time, I think we would be robbed of something great to see these three different ladies out showing solidarity, chemistry, humor together, supporting each other, as they promote this film. Like, that in and of itself is something to get a lot of people interested, right? And kind of make it going not quite as strongly as that like Barbie cultural event, but just nailing something that feels significant about the film, right? Yes. Which is key and important because that's what they built this film on, really. So, I mean, you could do it without it, but I don't know if it's servicing the film itself the best to do it without it, I guess, is how I feel.
Right, it's a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah,
but they can definitely. I mean,
they can do it. I agree with you. They can make it happen.
Yeah,
and I can see, honestly, I can see either decision.
Yeah,
I feel bad for the actors not getting to go to their premiere, though. That's the only thing I do feel bad, especially for our Miss Marvel.
I'm just Veruca Salt on all this. Like, I want it now. I want it now. I just want it now. I don't want to wait.
But it's one of the things that dealing with like Power Rangers is coming out, causing me fear, right? And I follow a lot of the actors and stuff. And you also see like sometimes like posts of like how they're very bummed that they can't promote their project. Yeah. And because people are like, I see some people in that, the fandom are like, well, we're showing solidarity and we're not going to talk about it. Like, we're not going to do our little free press, or we're not going to do it. And I look at that and go like, I understand where the idea comes from, but like, it sucks if you've worked on something to not be able to talk about it and to not be able to be proud of your work.
Especially if this is like your big break or something.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God.
So like, there's a part of me that's like that really sucks, like, from that angle too. Like,
really
they want to promote their project. It's not their fault, so it's a hard thing, and it blows. But
we were lucky to get Barbie and Oppenheimer at all. Like, they barely got in there.
Yeah,
Oppenheimer walked out of the premiere. They just got out of the premiere.
It's crazy.
Like, peace.
Crazy.
Hey, we're about to sit. Oh no, we out.
Enjoy your Florence Pugh discourse on Twitter.
Yeah.
I would love to just see a highlight reel of the Oppenheimer walkouts. That just like the walk-offs for each star. Like,
I just want Nolan in the background, just like an old teacher, like folding his arms, like
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be great.
I will say about the Marvels, I do feel like we need something strong from the MCU coming off of the latest Disney Plus show, Secret Invasion. So I do feel that, like, I just watched the first Avengers and I was so excited, and my heart was pounding, and I was just like on the verge of tears because it's such a good film and I'm so passionate about it and I'm so excited about it, and I haven't felt that in a little bit. So I would really like to see this come out soon because I'm kind of like missing that Marvel.
Well, if this doesn't land, Loki season 2 looks great. Give Morpheus that jet ski.
I can't wait.
It's good too.
Yeah.
All right, I believe is that all? Is that all the news, Jay?
Yeah, sure is.
All right, thank you. Next up, before we're going to get into... I got to get my hood back up for this one.
Oh, boy.
So it's time to talk about the premiere of Star Wars Ahsoka.
Do it.
As I said, we have recorded an entire spoilers breakdown of Ahsoka, so be sure to go to the Comic Book Nation podcast feed and our YouTube page to hear me, Connor Casey, and Matthew Aguilar jabberjaw about all the finer points of Ahsoka and Star Wars Rebels and all of that. So that leaves us in a good place to just start off with you, Janelle Wheeler. As somebody who has because I think it's important in Star Wars, I'm increasingly convinced it's very important for everybody to just kind of clarify like where you are in Star Wars, because there is no cohesion here at all. So like, Janelle, you are our kind of more casual Star Wars fan. You don't necessarily like engaging in Star Wars fandom all that much. I'm actually now with you. I think I posted today. I'm officially on your team. I'm team I just want to enjoy my Star Wars, but we're going to get into that. I'm very interested to hear what your take on, as somebody who also does not like animation that much, and therefore is coming into this with like mild Star Wars, obviously not doing Clone Wars, not doing Rebels. I was thinking about you earlier this week because I was like, at least I like Janelle because she'll just tell you. She doesn't fault, she doesn't fight, she doesn't try to invalidate. She just says, I don't like, animation's not for me.
I feel attacked right now.
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not attacking. I'm talking about people in animation. You're an animation fan. Yeah.
You're trying to invalidate. I'm just like...
No. Okay. You're an animation fan. I'm saying people who won't validate like Star Wars animation has been like a growing thing with me this week, because this is kind of the inflection point where all that comes together.
You've watched his Twitter feed.
Yeah. But Janelle, I always like and respect Janelle because she always will just say, hey, it's not for me. You guys enjoy, but I'm not going to do it. And you can't move her. She's just like, I'm not going to do it because I don't. Yeah. And I respect that. So I've been highly interested, I say all that to say, to hear you cook on what you thought of the Ahsoka premiere.
Oh gosh. Okay, I am gonna cook. Don't freak out at first. Give me a second.
I will scream inside. I have a hood on.
So, I will say that I have not watched Rebels at all. So I have no idea what any of that backstory is, or any time that you would maybe get excited, like, oh my gosh, this is something from Rebels. Like, I don't know those Easter eggs at all. I started watching this when I was trying to do some emailing, and I had it on my iPad next to me, and I was trying to like get some stuff done. And I think I got about halfway through the first episode, and I had no idea what happened. Like, I could not. I was like, some of the action's really cool, and she looks phenomenal. Oh my gosh, she looks so good. But I was like, this was such a waste of my life. Like, why did I watch this? And I got on my live stream and I talked some junk. And I was like, this is boring. I don't get it. I don't care. Like, who's this girl with the like pink and orange hair? Like, what is this? And then I took a breath. And I slept on it. And I came back on Thursday. And I sat down and focused and turned it on and watched it and gave it the respect it deserves. And after I did that, I was actually super into it. The acting is great. Everything looks like a freaking movie. It's gorgeous. Even the little creature, I'm attached to these characters, and I don't know who they are. Like, of course I know who Ahsoka is because of Mando, but I don't know who any of them are. But I love it. Like, I want to know who this blonde, because I identify with the blondes. I want to know who this blonde, like, Sith chick is. Like, I need to know the story I want to know, and I'm so intrigued. Also, having learned that David Tennant is playing Ahsoka's assistant or robot or bot droid, I was refreshed completely in it. Like, that was a game changer for me. I was like, if it's David Tennant, I'm in it to win it. He's my favorite Doctor. That's what the reference is from Doctor Who. And yes, it was a roller coaster, Kofi. You're perfect. You're saying it perfectly. I think what casual peeps need to do is, like, don't turn it on in the background. Sit down, focus, like, turn the lights down so you can see, like, the dark scenes, and just like get yourself immersed into it. Otherwise, it's not a background noise show. We were talking about this before the show started with the Harley Quinn show. Like, you actually have to pay attention and respect all of the things that make it special, like all of the special effects, all of, you know, these brilliantly acted scenes, like the chemistry between these actors. I just feel like there's so much more there, even compared to Mando, because there's a mask on him. I don't feel like an emotional attachment. I already feel emotionally attached to some of these characters, and I couldn't even tell you their names right now. Seriously.
Yeah. All valid points, Chanel. I was just really hoping, because you went from, this was a waste of my life, and then I slept on it, and then I sat down, and I paid attention, and I was hoping your next words would be, and I still hated it.
Yeah.
She's not you, Connor.
I'm so intrigued. Like, I want to know what's going on. I definitely want to be on the bonus episode if we're talking about it next week. Like, I'm kind of in this.
Man.
Yeah, and it actually intrigued me enough to want to go and watch Rebels.
Wow. Wow.
That's some glowing praise right
But
there.
it took 2 times. I had to watch it twice.
Yes.
That was insane. That was such a roller coaster of emotion that just was going through me. I am very happy I had this hood on today. Like, woo, that was a lot. I was like, I don't know. Are we going to still be friends at the end of this? Like, where are we going? Here we go. Now she's coming back. And then you somehow, like, Tom Cruise parachuted that down and landed in the middle of the target. Like, yeah, I was like, made me want to go watch Rebels. That was like the greatest sentence. I was just like, I'm that you know what I am? I'm that Vince McMahon meme, like where I start sitting up and I'm like, yeah, and I'm just like at the end, I'm like, like, yeah, that's me right now. So there we go. Interesting. Wow. That's very interesting. Thank you, Janelle.
That's awesome.
That was worth the wait. All right. All right.
I'm
And
excited.
of course you're on the bonus apps. We literally cracked that out because I hadn't seen the message and I woke up and Matt was like raring to go and I was like, oh my God, all right. Like, and I just like, yeah, we had a quick pop-up episode. We had my house plants. We haven't seen that since the pandemic. This is all not looking good in terms of omens. Yeah.
The return of the house plant.
Yeah. We had my house plants in there. But keep us on task here because we got to take a break pretty soon. Just a couple things that I think are interesting that I've heard and I've just wanted to kind of get throughout to you guys. Based on what I've heard, I've listened to a lot. I've surveyed a lot of the industry talk in between pundits and analysts, casual fans. I do my research, believe it or not. And there are some things that I just want to address that I'm nitpicks that I think are kind of weird. And I just want to see if I'm crazy. Because I also realize, I might be the I might be a little nuts. So I throw it out to you guys. I think that there's this weird hang-up about, like, people saying this show doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it an Ahsoka show? Is it a Rebels continuation? And it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of rules that people are pretending don't exist that we all understand about cinematic universes by now. Where, in like, what that makes this show and, like, the nature of this show. Like, this is called Ahsoka because it's going to be centered on her and her journey. But Ahsoka is somebody whose life in Saga has been filled with these connections to these other characters. And this is about something that she left undone from Rebels that, of course, is going to involve the other Rebels people in it. And so, like, yeah, it is a little bit Rebels, but it's also more in the tone of a samurai-themed Ahsoka show, which is what Dave Filoni has been doing since the beginning. This whole thing of Ahsoka being kind of like her lone Ronin samurai who left the Order and kind of went her own way has been the theme of it. And Season 7 of Clone Wars was, like, all about that ever since then. So, like, none of that's really changed. You just have that and this older Ahsoka. And I kind of, like, I might take an L on this, but I'm going to stick up for my girl Rosario Dawson. I don't think she's playing a wooden Ahsoka, like some people are saying. I think this is an older Ahsoka. Like, this is now Ahsoka in, like, her 40s, maybe coming up on 50. She's doing that thing like we have to do with Jedi. Like, guys, like, I'm sorry that it seems like people don't want their Star Wars heroes to ever grow up. Like, you grow up and you change. Like, and Jedi's change significantly because they get all this new perspective with age. They study. They get less about the blade, most of them, and more about, like, the Force and all that. Like, they're not the same. Like, they're more stoic and thoughtful and quiet and reserved. They're more like monks because that's what, Yoda was not a chatterbox who just was like, hey, silence. He wasn't like me. He was not an abrasive Philly guy. You know what I mean? He's not like, hey, like he was just.
Can I see the Philly version of Yoda, please?
I would love to see. If we just give Gritty a Yoda voice and then we're there. Oh, man. But, wow. So, like, I think she's playing, like, a thoughtful Ahsoka, but I feel like in those quiet spaces, she's still, like, wise, and she always knows, like, what to do and, like, what to say, or even when she's confused, she's just kind of... There's a lot of her in this, like, purposefully, like, taking deep breaths, like, letting things simmer, letting things pass, and rightly so, because she, again, like Luke, has seen what happens when you don't do those things and, like, take your own mental health and emotional health under control. You freak out and become Darth Vader, and they're both really scarred by that. And so seeing them as these different kind of versions of themselves and older like this, I get it, but it seems like people really have a problem with it. And I still support the Last Jedi version of Luke for this matter. Like, it makes total sense. As someone
who loves that movie and has defended that on numerous
occasions,
like numerous times, I cannot agree with your previous statement more. Like, there is something about certain, there are sacred cows in Star Wars, and there are characters that you just cannot show any real flaws. It all has to be very surface stuff that they can overcome. And when you dive any deeper and they screw up, it becomes, that's not my character anymore. And I don't know. I don't know what that is. That tends to be something in Star Wars a lot, though. Like, that kind of pushback happens a ton.
Well, I think that first movie is just such a good archetypal hero story. And it's like, it's so hard to come away and then deepen that over time. It gets nuts. And yeah, so, I mean, you do need like a family therapist to straighten out Star Wars pretty much.
Sure.
Like from top to bottom, but yeah, I just was wondering if you guys think that this show does have an identity crisis.
No, I think Filoni has always come from the perspective of, hey, the Jedi are as the weird virgin monks. Yeah, it's kind of weird, and maybe we need to, look into that a little bit and kind of have some of the older Jedi come to grips with the fact that, hey, when we were in power, we sucked. And that's a big message that The Last Jedi brings out, and it's a lot of what Filoni's work up until this point has kind of gotten on to. I think he's way more interested in the Mandalorians as a people than he ever was in the Jedi, and I think that's why a lot of the material has started to bend that way. Overall, I don't think the show has an identity crisis. I think the first episode leans a little too heavily on you need to know Rebels to get through this. The second episode is where the world starts expanding again, and you go, oh, wait, this is what Filoni's really good at. And it's targeting and talking about characters who aren't necessarily the Skywalkers. And how do they feel about everything that's happening right now? How are they just going about living their lives? How are some people going to be opportunistic and try to take advantage of, hey, the Empire just fell and the New Republic's up, but the New Republic's not really run that well. And how do we get to the point in Episode 7 where suddenly, hey, surprise, new army, even bigger Death Star. We got to explain that somehow. This is a way to get to that. And I'm okay with that. My only gripe with the show, and it's the most distracting thing, Janelle brought it up, homegirl with the Sia wig haircut. It's very distracting.
You've been on this and you made me die the first time you say this, and I'm about to die again when you say this. Oh, man. My other final question for you guys, based on some other people's kind of chatter about the pacing of the shows, when do we need to see Thrawn and or Ezra? There are, 6 episodes to this?
Is it 8?
8? Is it 8? Oh my god!
I think it's 8. I
thought
Secret
it was
Invasion.
More than 6.
I was
Secret
on the,
Invasion scared me or scarred me. So like, I just think I'm conflating the two.
I think the first episode
8. There are 8. Connor is correct. When do you need to see Thrawn?
The first episode made me think we needed to see them right away because so much of what people were talking about was, hey, here are these 2 characters. If you don't know who they are, this isn't really gonna affect you that much. I'd be fine with them popping up both next episode, or at the very least Thrawn. There's a theory that we may have already seen Ezra.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that is going to land as hard with everybody as it will with specifically the Rebels fans, if that's who that winds up being.
Over
but we'll
here
see.
Eating gourmet. If they draw this out, because remember, there is this event film happening that is in the works, and Thrawn is presumably the villain of that. So if this is literally just the search for Thrawn and we don't get to Thrawn till like near the very end, how mad will you be?
I'm still on the uncertainty of this film actually existing, because I've been told a lot of Star Wars films are coming out and none of them have. None of them have even started production.
You want your payment up
so
front.
I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, you want cash on delivery.
How's that Taika Waititi Star Wars movie going? How's that guys from Game of Thrones trilogy coming along? Oh wait, it's canceled too.
Stop it. All right. Hey, we got Mangold doing his thing. We got some promising plans coming up. We got a new one post Rey as her as the older. I can't wait for people to get mad and turn on Rey when she's an older Jedi. Man.
Every time I hear Star Wars movie news now, I'm Ron Burgundy. I don't believe you.
Wow. Okay.
I'd say midway for me.
Midway?
Like halfway through.
Yeah.
I'd say halfway through. If I get it, and I don't need a whole episode dedicated to them. I just if we get some seeds and stuff, real seeds.
Okay.
Halfway through, I'd be okay.
I'm of the opinion that I'll wait longer, but if you make me wait longer, it better be more content. If you make me wait later, it better be a twist in episode 5 or 6, and then I get episode 6 or 7 being an entire episode to kind of what happened between Thrawn and Ezra out there in the weird part of the universe, and that kind of sets up all that stuff and teases.
I do feel
what's out there. If I get a whole episode like that and I waited longer for it, I'm good. I'm flexible. I'll wait for that payment, but it better be a bigger chunk if I'm waiting. Time and accruance. I'm doing minor math here, but yeah, if it's not going to be like that, then let's get cooking around episode 3, 4 at the latest, halfway point, back half about Thrawn and Ezra and all that stuff. So that's just me. All right, I mean, we're good. This was just a premiere, and we're already bubbling. I don't feel like we're boiling over, but we're bubbling already. This is gonna get interesting. I mean, but don't talk to me on the side. I'm just gonna be enjoying my Star Wars. I've been reading these books. We've been telling you guys to read the comics, read the books, do everything in between, play the games, because it's been great content, and I'm just gonna be enjoying that. All right, so we're going to take a break. Then when we come back, we're going to run through real quick what we each thought were our best top 2 summer TV picks. I think we got a varied list, if I'm not mistaken, which is good. I like it when we don't that we all have stuff that's different. So stay tuned for that. Comic Book Nation, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. If you missed our first half of the show, we did a review of Star Wars Ahsoka and talked about some big and sad news in the wrestling community and about movie delays happening because of the strikes. So be sure to go back and listen to all of that if you were just joining us live now. Otherwise, we are going to move ahead into the second portion of the show, our top summer TV picks. People seem to like it when we did our top summer movie picks a couple episodes ago. You guys had a lot of feedback. It was fun. So we thought we'd show TV some love because, you know, TV has been getting us through some tough times and may be very necessary to get us through some more coming up. So this is going to be fun, I think. I think we got a varied list, so let's just go. I believe we're going in the order that's listed here in the rundown. So, Connor Casey. Yeah, we do it alphabetically. Connor Casey, what were your top 2 picks for summer TV watching in 2023?
Well, Janelle, my first pick is My Adventures with Superman, because animation is legitimate and should be appreciated as art.
Wow!
But no, seriously, guys, My Adventures with Superman, this one blew me away. When Matt did his preview for it, I was kind of like, this could be something. You know, we've been hit or miss with animated properties in the DC world here for the past decade or so. This thing blew me out of the frickin' water. It's Superman as an anime. It's a shonen anime. Superman's your main character. The dynamic between him and Lois is awesome. Jimmy Olsen, this version, great character. They've got completely new ideas for a lot of very recognizable DC characters. Mr. Mxyzptlk showed up as basically just an anime creature with teeth, and it was downright charming. The relationship between Lois and Clark basically is... are they? I don't know if they're fresh out of college or in college. They're in their early 20s. The dynamic's great. I know there was some blowback over, hey, she figured out who he was before he told her, and then she jumped off a building to make him prove it. A lot of discourse over that one. A lot of shots taken at Invincible Season 1 in the process. Don't understand why that happened. But overall, great show. The penultimate episode drops today. If you haven't caught on this one, it's all on HBO Max. Go watch it. It's awesome. My other one, I am nothing if not on brand, Kofi. And it's AEW Collision. This has been my favorite show of the summer in terms of wrestling. Basically what they did was they took CM Punk, who returned from his injury and a lot of the controversy from last year, and they took some of the other characters who are backstage, maybe don't get along with everybody, or maybe just hadn't been featured on TV very well over the past year or so. They all get this little 2-hour show on Saturday night. It is consistently excellent. It's all basically completely focused on what's happening in the ring, as opposed to a lot of the backstage skits you'll see on Dynamite. Punk is as a magnetic character as ever, and every time he is on screen, you have to pay attention. It is honestly outshining Dynamite at a time where I never thought I'd be saying that. And do I wish that both rosters were showing up on both shows every week? Absolutely. I think Dynamite is worse off for this little split they've got going on right now. But I'd be lying if I didn't say the first thing I look forward to doing every Sunday morning when I start my shift is putting this on and watching the 2 hours I didn't get to see the night before. Matt's been covering this show. He even loves it. And this guy hates AEW, despises its very being.
Wow. That's true.
But
also, by the way, this was my honorary pick. Didn't make my list, but it was right there. Right there.
Yeah. So if you're not watching any wrestling, check out this show.
And can you believe we get comments that I am beating up on the two of you? Are you kidding me? To the people in person who left that comment, I don't know what you're watching.
Matt's like totally indifferent to Dynamite, and I'm the big AEW fan on the staff. So
I like it.
Whenever I get to take shots, it's fun.
Man,
it's just Dynamite is not good all the time.
Oh boy, you two settle down
because you loved NXT, and all look where that
Collision rule. NXT rule.
Let's get.
I will absolutely defend NXT to my dying breath.
Janelle Wheeler, clear out some of this testosterone with your TV picks, please.
Well, I'm going to start by saying I feel so bad for Peter, who made these graphics and made the list, because I sent him like 5 shows. I was like, I can't. I'm watching so many shows, so I'm going to wait for my graphic to come up because I honestly don't know. I know for a fact, like my number 1 was What We Do in the Shadows. Okay, cool. What We Do in the Shadows is it genuinely, like, I look forward to this every single week. It is so uplifting, but also like so dark. It's like wholesome, but also so not not cool at all. Like, it's like everything an ex-Twilight fan would love to see, like, as an adult. Like, I read Twilight as, you know, a young adult. Now, as an older woman, I'm like, oh my God, this is what vampires should be. Like, this is hilarious. I find myself saying energy vampire all the time. I call people, like, that's my biggest diss. I'm like, you're an energy vampire. And yeah, it's just so good. I love What We Do in the Shadows. If you haven't watched it, the whole entire thing is on Hulu. It is a Hulu original. It is so good when you binge it. It is so good week to week. It's just funny. It is a little gory though, so like beware if you don't like a little bit of blood and guts, like you'll probably be weirded out. Like, I can't get my husband to watch it with me, but that's okay. I don't care. I watch it. And my second show is Harley. I chose animation, Connor.
Yay!
So
What a twist!
Wow.
it is Harley Quinn. This show, I've been raving about this. I even wrote like to Peter when I was picking it out. I was like, my second show is Harley Quinn, but I feel like I've talked about this over and over and over again for weeks on end since it debuted this season. But it's such a good show, and it's such a good season. I always say I get nervous when a show goes on too long, because is it going to get weak? Is it going to fall off? Is it going to bore me? Are they going to be able to find good storylines to keep me engaged? Yes. All of those things. It is just action-packed, so fun, awesome. If you like Harley at all, this is a different version of Harley Quinn. This is a different story of Harley Quinn. You should definitely check it out. It's on Max. My honorable mentions were Only Murders in the Building, Love Island UK, so good. I love it so much. I'm like absolutely addicted to it. And then I'm rewatching Suits. I'm watching Suits. Sorry, I'm not rewatching it.
So
I'm
you're
watching
the
Suits
one that's got
first
Suits at the top of
I'm
Netflix
about to
right
start.
now.
Oh, come on. My God.
well then go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm about to start watching it.
Oh, you're
I've
about to
been
start.
hearing all the things.
It's my honorable mention. I never watched it, and I think it's because I hated the theme song so much that it just I never wanted to watch it. But this show is so good, and it's so binge worthy, and it's like an updated Ally McBeal. And I'm not even one of those people that really like these types of shows, and I'm totally hooked. Love it.
It's all I see on Reels.
Meghan
all
Markle.
the time.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Clips from Suits.
I can't believe we're having like this weird late Suits resurgence. I don't know.
It's crazy. It's trending on Netflix. Like, that's the only reason why I did it. Because it's in the top 10
doesn't make sense
for
in
weeks
watching
and weeks
habits.
and
I can't do things anymore.
Where's my Burn Notice revival? Like,
yeah,
these were
Burn
USA
Notice.
shows I had to see advertisements for years because
Yeah.
I covered Raw each week.
Yeah,
Burn
and
Notice
USA,
and White
I mean,
Collar.
USA
I need
cult,
those back.
cult pumps those things into your head. And they have some pretty slick ads, I must say. Go watch USA.
Good shows, dude.
No, but, all right. Yeah, I mean, you started going flagrant there at the end. I can't believe we're getting Suits
There's a lot of. I
Yeah, I
watch a
know.
lot of TV.
Good. I mean, all right. So these are my picks next. My picks I've talked about both on here. I'm not going to get too wordy about it. My number one pick was The Bear, Season 2. I think that was the best thing that TV did this summer for me by a mile. The Bear Season 2 is, I mean, after you have something like a breakout hit like The Bear, you would think like this is going to be really hard to top, because that first season was kind of like self-contained perfection about where it starts, where it ends up, and this is a more complicated story they were telling, bigger cast, more, you have to get to things like more character focus and all that as the cast, you need to get to know these different characters better. And this show split everybody up, brought everybody back together. All those parts were equally as interesting. They took a bottle episode, a flashback episode that is one of the most uncomfortably real kind of like renditions of like what it is to have family experience, and all the kind of like deeper things that go into the ritual of like just having a family dinner that you have and all that stuff, and all the things bubbling under the surface. And if you ever study literature, it's hard to do a party scene. It's insanely hard, and one of the best I've ever seen, with like one of the best ensembles I've ever seen. Jamie Lee Curtis deserves all the accolades and awards in the world for her role as just in that season, especially in the finale. There's this crazy scene. I mean, so yeah, I'm going on, like I said, and even just how things end up, like just, yeah.
Let me just say, Carmy, Jeremy Allen White, is about to play Kerry Von Erich in The Iron Clawed comes out later this year. You are not ready for what he's going to have to do in that role, and we're going to have to talk about it on this show, because that's going to be nuts.
Oh, I'm there. I mean, I'm behind that kid, man. And behind Cousin Richie, who I want to see do great things and also great stuff in this. So, yeah. One program note, that is a Hulu original. Janelle, What We Do in the Shadows is an FX on Hulu.
Oh, FX on Hulu. You're
I
right.
just don't want them to come at us. I don't want Disney coming at us. So, my second pick was Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I just did the recap for this a couple episodes ago and shouted out the praise of this, so just to kind of reiterate real quick. This is another show where they... the writing on this show, and again, proof of great writing, was so masterful that each episode focused on one or two members of the crew, kind of had serious developments for them, and then put those characters back in the ensemble in backgrounds of other episodes where the power and meaning of like what they had been through was still contributing to the forward motion of the entire season. They both kind of had an overarching story that kind of moved forward and had great self-contained episodes in classic Star Trek fashion, took on some real deep topics and kind of head-twisting topics, and still did fun things. Like, there's a courtroom procedural episode. They did an animation live-action crossover episode where probably one of the best kind of transitions, because they had Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome come on, who have done Star Trek Lower Decks and really are into those characters and voice those characters, come on in the live action and play them, and use that silly kind of crossover premise to, again, they're coming from a different period of time to affect all the characters in the past with knowledge of the future and real serious stuff in the midst of this crazy premise. So if you're looking for the Star Trek show for you, a mainstream person, to get into, watch, and enjoy, even some of you Whovians who haven't come over the fence yet, like... Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a great place to go, and Season 2 is one of the strongest overall seasons I've ever seen of a Star Trek series. So check that out on Paramount Plus. Matthew!
Oh, I'm up. My two picks are probably not going to surprise anybody. But it was actually difficult because Star Trek made a really great case. I really loved this season. It's my first one. So I had nothing but good things to say, and AEW Collision was also right there. But I went Witcher.
The Witcher!
And SmackDown. Because Witcher, despite my not loving the season finale and how that left things and some of the decisions that they kind of made of like not really going far enough to explain some things and other stuff, the rest of the season was so good. I enjoyed that so much that I can't discount all of that. I can't discount the other 7 episodes for one kind of letting me down. And there was just some amazing episodes, and especially like early in the season, and some of the deep dives with Geralt and Ciri and like Yennefer's whole story. Like, they did such a good job of actually utilizing all the characters in the world. We talked about earlier Lord of the Rings and how like sometimes they're having kind of problems, like there's so much material there and so much world for them to explore, but they're having like a hard time actually exploring it for some reason. And here in this season, I thought they did such a good job of taking advantage of all the people and pieces they've set in place and actually like doing meaningful things with them and moving them into places where they interact. And also then we get some huge bloody amazing the coup and everything that happens. Like Artusa, it's just like that delivered a lot of deaths, a lot of brutal stuff. Some of the fight scenes are amazing. So I just thought this season did so much. So even though I was a little deflated with how the season decided to end, I loved the other stuff so much. So I have to praise it. And also, I am the one who covers Collision, but I'm also the one who covers SmackDown every Friday night. And on SmackDown is the best wrestling story of the year and of the last 2 years in the Bloodline saga. And on top of some of the other things that are happening on SmackDown, because actually I've enjoyed SmackDown as a complete show a lot. I mean, I think the draft actually did it a lot of favors, injected some nice new energy. But even before that, I was enjoying SmackDown. There's some great matches, some great rivalries that built up. You've been watching the ascendance of LA Knight and that roller coaster ride that's been. But Gunther's title reign before he went to Raw. But then the Bloodline is just, as Nick puts it a lot of times in Slack, cinema. It is cinema every Friday, and every time I think like, oh man, I don't know what they're gonna do. They send me on the next one, and I'm all back in. So I'm excited. It's always a thing I look forward to every single week. But really, back-to-back wrestling has been great. So it really is a new era of a new renaissance, as some are saying, for wrestling. It's really hasn't been this good in a long time across the board.
All right. Well, guys, man, I love it. I mean, you know what? I'm going to be optimistic in a rare instance. I'm going to say I'm very much looking forward to creative shows like this as content slows down. Anyway, so that is our summer TV picks. Moving right along on the show, we have a little bit of a wrestling segment and some comics to get to before we get out of here. So, Connor, take it away, please, on wrestling front.
Just a little bit of a show called AEW All In, taking place this Sunday, Wembley Stadium in London. It has sold more than 80,000 tickets. It is breaking some records on the ticket front. We will have to see where the final number gets to, but let's just say that this is starting to speed past some of the biggest WrestleMania events without the asterisks of, hey, it was 2 days, and hey, people bought tickets for both shows, and yada, yada, yada. Point is, biggest show AEW has ever done by a mile. It's going to be awesome. I know there's been a lot of talk about the build to it, some of the matches that have been made. Matt, I know you've probably seen a lot of this discourse too. I'm honestly at the point now where I recognize that enough matches had to be changed and scrapped because of injuries, because we've gotten a little bit of an injury bug this year. I'm comparing this to the original Forbidden Door show from last year. That show had all of its plans scrapped and plagued with injuries, and it still wound up being one of the best shows they've ever done. I think this is going to be one of those situations, too. Could I have booked this show where it's CM Punk versus Jay White and Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston versus Claudio Castagnoli, part whatever? Absolutely. But I think there's enough good stuff on here and enough great role players in a lot of these multi-man matches that we're going to get some amazing matches regardless of how well the build has been or how big the story may or may not have been presented. Overall, how do you feel about this show in its entirety?
No, I feel good. I agree with you in a lot of ways, and I actually think, I mean, if you stack up this card to Forbidden Door, I think this card is like way stronger. Like from the point of, oh hey, we had to see some dream match scenarios not work out, but like in Forbidden Door, that was like one or two matches, like those big changes. And everything else was just kind of like, that was some of the thing, like some of the other stuff, just like the trickle effect down. I don't think that affected this one nearly as much. I think they've done a good job of covering up the injuries and plugging the holes. And I really don't, I mean, I feel like if you look at this card and you like don't feel like it's a strong card, I don't know what you're looking for. like that's like my only criticism, like if I was going to criticize something, would be that like there's literally one women's match on the entire card. Is there another one on 0 Hour? No,
not currently. No,
that's really like my main thing. Like you had room for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches, and then one on the pre-orders or the pre-show, and you can't do another women's match.
And even that one, we know that Jamie Hayter was supposed to be a big role player in this, and she's out. So
right, exactly. But like, you know, you have 2 champs, right? So like you can find I don't know, that's always my sticking point sometimes with that. But otherwise, I look at this card and I feel good. I mean, who would have guessed that the Adam Cole versus MJF thing would have taken like lightning in a bottle, and having that as your headline? Like if you had told me, that's already a good match on paper, but the last like month and a half of the way they built that's fantastic. Like they've done such a good job with that.
Yeah.
They've handled that really well.
And moving into that topic, because that is the big question that's heading into this show, is what do you do with Adam Cole MJF? I don't know if this was all planned from the beginning. I don't know if they recognized the lightning in the bottle that they had and decided to extend it to this point. All I know is that it's working and that each week it's entertaining. And I'm racking my brain as to how they figure out how to nail this. Because on the one hand, you have MJF. His nickname is literally the devil. He revels in being the absolute worst. And he has sort of turned face over the past couple of months to where he still is fully aware of the fact that he is a scumbag, but now he's saying he's our scumbag. He's a jerk, but he's a lovable jerk. And the dynamic actually kind of works. And the whole time I've been watching it, I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, where he goes, guys, I was lying the whole time. Up yours, I'm a huge prick. I'm trying so hard not to cuss right now, because when you talk about Max, it's very easy to. And there's such an easy way for him to go, surprise, I was never friends with Adam Cole. I've been using him the whole time. I'm going to cheat to win and keep the title and move on to the next show. On the other hand, you have Adam Cole, who, lovable as he is and as an absolute sweetheart of a real person in real life, dude's a great villain. And showed up in AEW originally as a villain, came back from concussions. We all start cheering him because, hey, it's coming back from what could have been career-ending injury. We're all rooting for you to be back. There are a lot of signs there to where he could pull off a big old twist and have been using Max the entire time to get his hands on AEW's top prize. And there have been lots of little hints. He's been dropping some of the same lines that Stone Cold Steve Austin used before he turned at WrestleMania 17. Yeah. There's the stabbing in the back motion when he's hugging him. He used that back in NXT. There's Roderick Strong and the guys from the Kingdom all floating in the background where it's like, if he won, he'd suddenly have a faction surrounding him again. And what did he do when he was in NXT that made him the longest reigning champion ever? Oh, yeah, that's right. Run a faction. But then there are all these other... Yeah, exactly. Undisputed for life. But there's also these other little mitigating factors floating out there. They're on the pre-show challenging for the Ring of Honor tag title. CM Punk is still running around pretending to be the real world's champion. I doubt they would do that unless it was going to be Max versus Punk again at some point. It's way too close for me to call and say, oh, this is obviously going to happen, this is who's going to turn, and this is what the big twist is going to be. But if I had to guess, I think all the little nuggets they've been dropping about Adam Cole tell me he's going to win this thing. And then the immediate fallout is going to be at All Out a week from now, because next weekend we're doing this all over again, only it's in Chicago.
Chicago.
So Matt,
the home of Punk.
Where do you the home of Punk, where Max returned a year ago and pulled off the whole devil mask thing? Where are you sitting on this one, Matt?
I think you made a lot of compelling points. I felt comfortable feeling like the MJF would walk away the winner somehow, because he's been obviously teasing obviously we're friends, but that doesn't mean I don't feel like him cheating because of the dynamic you explained. People love him. But he's admittedly a jerk and a heel. So him cheating to keep the title, I don't actually think diminishes that in any way. And he could still keep it, and then you build Cole to something else if you want, right? But I think he actually swung me. I think I'm actually gonna go Cole. I think he turns. You're right. All of those things are there for both of them. They've teased turning on each other numerous times after every team up. So it's a thing. It's a running deal. So I think Cole. Turns, and then you set up something with MJF and the real title, and MJF's already appeared on Collision.
So he's allowed to appear on Saturdays as we know.
So he's already showed up several times. And his appearances are hilarious. So I think that's the way to go. But I agree with you. I don't think this was planned. I think part of it was planned. But I think part of it was also that typical, hey, we got to find something for MJF and Cole to do between, the pay-per-view and now. And so pairing them up in a tag team is always that kind of thing to fill time and build some things. I do not think they expected it to be this. This happened so organically. I mean, they have a shirt that's all about a clothesline.
Yeah.
That's it. And that took off. Like, you can't plan that kind of stuff. That stuff just happens. So
I will close it with this. I have been against MJF's whole bidding war of 2024 idea from the start. I thought it put way too much of the spotlight on the opposing company while you're dealing with your world champion. And I also think there's a lot of mileage to get out of Max as a good guy. A jerk of a good guy, an anti-hero at best, but there's so much more mileage out of that because he's clearly good at that, as opposed to just, surprise, I've been evil the whole time, because then we're back to square one. Already. And he's done this already, but we've pulled it back. We've pulled this back like twice now, where he pretends to be a good guy, but he's really a bad guy. Eventually, the fans just want you to be a good guy. Let him sell all the merch he could possibly ever want. Sign a new contract, and then we're off to the races with this. With Max as one of your top stars, I'm all for it.
Agreed. I agree with you.
All right, boy. Oh, my voice went out, man. I had to be silent.
A lot of shouting on my end for what wasn't really a debate.
No, it's all good. I didn't talk for so long, apparently.
But I hate AEW.
Yes,
I would just like to throw that out there.
Admit it.
I apparently didn't talk for so long. I started to die. All right, so let's keep going. Maddie, take us into comic books, our last segment of the day. What happened this week?
That got a snort for me. All right, that was good. All right, we're gonna start with Kobe's favorite book, Night Terrors, number 4, because I love this series so much, and we talked about it a little bit last issue, where there was a lot of kind of writing on this issue because Insomnia's origin and kind of the whys of how he became this and everything is revealed in this issue. And it's brutal. Actually, to some of the way the other books and even this issue kind of go full on with some of the horror aspects, I was actually expecting to be worse, as far as depiction in art. I was expecting it to be more brutal visually, and they actually hide a lot from you, which is good because it's sensitive subject matter anyway, and it's already a heartbreaking thing. I'll get into spoilers obviously, but Insomnia's family is taken in a very horrible way, and the Justice League has a role in that, and they kind of tie it back to the various Batman of the Barbados and all that stuff. They kind of tie it to those events, and so that did a lot for me to buy into the character. But also I just think some of the back and forth between Insomnia and Deadman actually even sold it even more. So I thought they hit that for me. And then the rest of the issue, there's just a lot of great stuff here with Deadman and Damian and Sandman. I just really like this series. I like what it's doing. I like that at the end we actually get no, we failed, and here's this world that's turned into nightmares, and I think they're doing a really good job with it. So what started out as a very this could very much be a generic thing that I won't pay attention to, right? Because sometimes events like this can be that. I've really enjoyed, and it kind of took me by surprise. So I like this issue a lot. Kofi, Janelle, Connor, I don't know if you read this one.
I'll jump in here. I read everything. I'll jump in here. I'm beginning to think there's a weird tweak with this series. If you had told me this was just a DC limited series, just like a limited series, no pressure, no spanning crossover, none of that. If it was just a limited series about this weird thing that happened, that Deadman, Damian, and Batman's limp body and dead Sandman had to fight together and brought this weird collection of characters together to fight this unique threat, I'd probably be into this. And I was thinking about that all week. I'd probably be wow, that is one of the weirdest, craziest limited series DC's done. I dig it. I like it when DC gets weird, blah, blah, blah. But as a big spanning crossover with all these tie-ins and all this, I don't enjoy it as that. And so it's just a weird tweak for me. I mean, again, I think all of this depends on how they stick the landing of this. If there are real shifts from this series, I think it will be interesting in terms of what it does to characters and their characterization, and the concept of nightmares now, spoilers, what it's doing for nightmares and this kind of threat that can now come to the DC universe. If it's self-contained and over in this, that'll be kind of cheap, but if it opens a door, so to speak, to a threat that we could see a new nature of threat in the DC universe, that'd be kind of cool.
Janelle, what'd you think?
This was great for me. Like, it kind of wrapped up the story a little bit, and I now know like Nightmare and what the motivation is and his backstory, which is very, very sad, very tragic. And I didn't know that, so I'm not sure if everybody already knew that. But for me, that was a big reveal.
No, new character. You're coming. We're all on this even ground.
Yeah, we're on the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. I really liked that. I'm glad that I heard the story. I do wish they would delve into backstory a little bit more, because I think that does. That's something that I've always really, really liked. I like understanding characters and their motivations a little bit more. So more than just like a quick, like, this terrible thing happened, peace, now I'm pissed. Like, it would be nice to feel a little bit more emotion with that. Yeah.
Janelle, it's okay. You should cook. You should say it's a flimsy backstory. It's okay.
Peace.
I mean, I like the backstory. I just wish we had more of it. Like, they should have made it more emotional.
I mean, come on, guys.
I genuinely thought it was going to be a bigger reveal as far as like more.
Can we just focus in on this? Can we just, because I feel, and I'm just not going to impose, but I'm going to say, I feel that I became a villain because heroes didn't save, like, something that happened in a collateral battle is kind of a trope we've seen, right? Like,
we were seeing this in 2016 with Civil War.
It was weird that, like, they were like, he even said, he's like, oh, they said we should evacuate, but we'll be fine. Yeah. Like, that was kind of sus too. Like, I don't know why they would say.
Well, yeah, that's his pathos. He can't accept that. I mean, that's the pathos, right? He can't accept that he made the call that got his family killed, and so he projects
and also, the point being that when you are such, I mean, it's made clear, right? They are fans of superheroes in that house. He is wearing a Justice League shirt. He is, when you are devoted to an idea or a person, and that person disappoints you, not even their fault. It's just something doesn't align with your brain, right? That can have a very dramatic thing. But I agree. I didn't mind that. I thought, yes, it's not something completely original. Absolutely not. We've seen it 100 times. But I thought it was still told effectively.
Yes.
I just would have wished that it was very, like, it cut off very abruptly.
Yes.
And I was like, I need like 3 more pages. Like, of that, like, let's delve into like how we get from that point to the point where in 2 issues ago or 3 issues ago he's in the asylum. Like, I need a spot there.
Yeah.
And so I agree wholeheartedly with you.
But I still really like the story.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. We just did it. No, we exploded at the same time.
I really love the story.
Yeah.
I love the nightmare stuff.
Okay,
I love the art. I really do like it. I just wish I had more of that, like, emotion tugging at me. But it was another one of those where I didn't know what page I was on. I was just enjoying the read. I was fully in it. Like, my husband was on a meeting, like, barking about architecture in the background, and I couldn't even, like, I tuned him out completely. And that was awesome. Like, that means that I was so in it, because I have ADHD, guys. When I was in it, I was hyper focused on it. And when something can do that to me, a show, a movie, a comic book, when it can get me so in it that I'm not hearing outside distractions, that's a really good sign. So for me, I do like this a lot.
I was trying to Rick James and contradict myself immediately, and say that there is one interesting thing about Insomnia, and I wish this had gone more. I wish they had leaned into this more in the series, which is that his actual plan is to kind of change the perception of heroes in people's minds. I think it would have been more interesting if the books, or if there was some kind of expression of that in the series more, like him actually taking heroes and their imagery and turning that into something crazy scary that, like, was like freaking people out. I mean, not that I don't love a giant man bat with a gun for a head, like, flying around, but
that is terrifying. I will say, it's there's a panel. It's towards the end. It's the one where they're in front of the Hall of Justice, and like Deadman and Sandman are hanging on either side, right? Like they're tied up there or whatever. But the window, like the giant window of the Hall of Justice, there's like one spot in the window where like you see this creature like in the building, and then like you see like its little like part of it is much bigger, and so only its face is being seen through the door, and it gives the impression that like the entire thing is this creepy creature. And that panel kind of screwed with me. I don't know why. Just that one
apparently,
panel,
you sound like you're coming undone over there. You all right, buddy?
It was freaky. It was a little freaky and a little weird. So let's move into something else. Let's move into something also not lighthearted at all. The Penguin. Tom King. Tom King is back. Okay, so one thing I will say about this, this, you know, is very much, I know Janelle will talk sometimes, and it's like, oh, this is a talkie.
How did you know?
There's a lot of talking in this. It is pretty much all people talking. This obviously this follows up where the Penguin has, if you've been following some of the other Bat books and stuff, he's relinquished his empire. His descendants and beneficiaries and stuff have been like fighting over it, and other pieces. The Iceberg Lounge was fought after for a while. His fortune and all that. He's presumed dead. And he's going, he's just been living this little life with a flower shop and stuff. Like, that's what he's been doing. So this is like, hey, we're going to pull you back in. He's living his peaceful little life, but there's this just, like, constant unease, this tension of, like, he could always flip the switch. And people are still not used to the fact that, like, he's pleasant and he doesn't, just randomly kill people and stuff. And so they keep plugging that throughout the whole issue. And then it's essentially like, hey, you're going to come back into the life because you're going to be working for the government to do this. And, then we kind of see that switch start to flip a little bit by the end. I don't know why this felt supremely long, but I really enjoyed it. But I'm not going to lie and say that, like, I had to read it in 2 sessions. Like, I actually had to, like, step away, and I was like, okay, I got to, like, go do some stuff. And
Smart.
And then came back and finished it. And I feel really great for, like, reading it. And I really enjoyed it, and I want to keep with the series. But, like, it just felt super long, and I don't know why. Because it's not. It's, like, 31 pages. Mm-hmm. So it's not, like, one of those 50 ones that you guys hate that I give sometimes. What did you guys think of this? Because I'm super curious.
I think... I read it definitely in one sitting. I didn't put it down, but it did feel long-ish. But I think it does what Tom King does best, which is Tom King is a very kind of literary, intellectual person who really does enjoy these characters and kind of exploring and sees meaning in them on deeper levels than a lot of us. See Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But what I loved and what kept driving me through this issue is there's this kind of comedic element, this dramatic comedy to this, where, it's all about people in the like Penguin, us readers on the outside and the general people look at Penguin as kind of like a joke Batman villain, right? And what this first issue does and what Tom King's whole thesis is like, dude, this is the guy who creates a criminal empire and holds down the worst city in this universe and does it while Batman is constantly trying to, like, get this city under control. Penguin's like, yeah, you do that, and is still, like, running everything and has a whole criminal empire at all times, and is basically saying, do you really think this guy's a punk who does that he's just, this joke of a person? And it's like, no, there's something to this guy that makes him able to do these things and pull this all together. And it is kind of funny to see. And then, like I said, it's like a kind of dramatic comedy where the people in each scene are like sitting across from Penguin are terrified for their lives.
Yeah.
And are terrified for their lives and are like, and it's all their internal monologue, like the tailor, the government agent who's in the interview room and is just waiting, like, I know this guy could really tear out my throat and, like, do all this if he just even gets bored, and, like, all of that. And Penguin's just sitting there chilling the whole time. And till the end, and like Matt said, that you get this reminder that no. And he even does, like, the sick, like, little rule of thumb, like, thing, because looking at his umbrella, and they tie it together because he beats the guy to death with an umbrella that's no bigger than the handle's no bigger than his thumb and all that. And so I liked that. I hope the next issues obviously get more into a running kind of espionage, action, crime, noir tale, which I feel like we will. But I thought this was like, even if this had been just like a one-shot, if you had given me this as a backup story or a one-shot about the Penguin, like, I would have been like, you know, damn, man, like, all right, like, that, there it is. Like, that's why Penguin is who he is, and that's what makes him so dangerous. But I'm excited because the framework of the story makes me feel like we'll actually get to see. It's almost like Grand Theft Auto 3, right? Like Oswald Cobblepot started off in a great place, but he's going to be waking up in the far side of the city with, like, nothing to his name. And he's got to, like, get from there back into the Iceberg Lounge and, like, you know, play people and play all sides. And we'll get to actually see the cunning part of him. We've seen this violent side, the hardened side, the sociopathically kind of, you know, controlled side of him, but, like, I hope we get to see the cunning part, like what makes him able to make deals, play people, leverage things, like threaten people by doing stuff, you know, all that stuff. And then whoever is like obviously better at this, that lands him in the situation where we start in the car. So I think there's a lot of potential here. But I thought it was an interesting character study of the Penguin, somebody I would have never thought I would have been able to read, because I was skeptical I'd be able to read this issue about Penguin.
Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. I think it was really well done. I do hope that like we get like next couple issues switch it up just a little bit. But I'm excited to see where things go. I'm sticking with it.
Oh no, I want to know. Yeah, I want to know. Because I want to know. I mean, they hook you. It's a good hook in the beginning. Him and Batman and all the descriptions about like how like really just toasted they are, sitting drowning in the Batmobile is. I want to see what happens to these guys, and I want to know about like Oswald. I mean, about his kids and all that. So, right. I'm in.
Moving into other quick recs, real quick. Batman Beyond Neo Gothic, #2 came out. I cannot praise this series enough. The first issue was fantastic. Second issue is, you have never seen a version of Killer Croc like this, and it's just amazing. It's awesome. Like this whole, they're building out this. Whole other kind of supporting cast in the underground, and it's just so good. I can't recommend this more. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #111. Speaking of books that are quite dark, this one kicks off Darkest Hour, and things. I mean, people seemingly die. There's a lot of. It's rarely been this bad. For the Rangers, and even in some of their other bigger crossovers. So they set the tone really well. So this really is kind of the starting point for this event moving forward. And then another book that we actually talked about last year and into early this year is Batman and Robin. And it's finally been collected in trade paperback. So this was 3 issues. 3 fantastic issues. If you want to listen to our full reviews of those issues, you can go back and listen to our previous episodes, because we actually followed through the entire series, I believe. But such a unique take on Batman and Robin and the dynamic between them, and how he stepped into that role. And so definitely read. So that's comics.
I had a couple rare additions to comics this week.
Yeah, we were going to talk about their reviews. Your whole thing was in the reviews. I totally forgot. My bad. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to say, over on the anime manga side, Boruto's new volume, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, is out. Big time skip. This is basically doing for Boruto what Naruto Shippuden did for Naruto. We've had a time skip. The characters have been aged up. There was a major twist at the end of the Boruto series that I never thought they would go something this drastic as rewriting a character's entire reality into a new story. But that's how they do it. And we kick off this story, and this one has Naruto fans hyped again. It's got everybody kind of... I mean, this blew up huge and was making a huge buzz as people kind of like really jumped in and got into this again. So I enjoyed the first chapter of this. I suggest getting in. It's a good fresh start. I mean, the Boruto manga was much better than the anime series, which had so much filler, but this is going to be something exciting, I think, and so I think it's good time for the Naruto series, so check that out. Also, I'm just going to shout out Al Ewing's Immortal Thor. I thought for sure Matt would be picking that this week, and so I read that, and if you look at my Instagram stories right now, there are parts of this book that already stick out to me as just, like, instant classic lines and stuff. So, like, yeah. It was a really good storyline. It's made me read one. I'm going to be reading Thor consistently for the first time ever.
Wow.
And I got to now go back because, spoilers, guys, of shame, I have never read Immortal Hulk. So now I got to go back and read that as well. So I'm on board for Immortal Thor. Great new story, interesting new mythos. And I can't wait for that. And Thor smiles a lot, which is crazy. So there you go. But that'll do it for comics, and that'll do it for the show. This is Comic Book Nation. Also this week, The Flash is streaming on Max, and we recorded so much stuff about this movie that apparently a lot of you did not go out and see. But now that The Flash is streaming on Max, go back and listen to our Flash spoilers episode. I'll be promoting that on the Comic Book Nation Twitter later today. But we have great videos and talks about that. So if you're just watching The Flash for the first time, be sure to go and listen to our content on that as well. This is Comic Book Nation. We thank all of you for jumping in, subscribed on your favorite podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page because we are dropping new bonus round episodes every week or whenever we need to. We will be doing regular Ahsoka recaps and all that stuff, so don't miss any of that content. We want to thank you guys. You can find us out on the socials. I'm at Kofi Outlaw.
I'm at Connor KCCB.
I am at Matt Aguilar CB.
And I am at Janelle Wheeler.
You two got to get your home studio thing figured out. Nobody knows when to go. Matt's still getting used to it, but we're just joking.
I always let Matt go first, always.
Shout out to everybody in the comments, Damon, Streams, Brywood, everybody at Angels and Fandom, over at YouTube, all in the game, all our regular fans. We love you guys. You guys keep us highly entertained, and yeah, we'll have more fun things like summer TV picks and stuff, interactive stuff too. Stay tuned. This is Comic Book Nation. We'll see you out there. Peace.
Later.